Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Tuesday, April 28th, 2026 meeting of the Plymouth Select Board. Tonight, the Select Board is going to meet in an executive session. I'll read into record the details of that. The Select Board will hold an executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Clause 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. I do so declare for the Symes House, 29 Manomet Point Road. The Select Board will hold another executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Clause 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. I do so declare with regards to Plymouth Airport Commission et al. V. Town of Plymouth et al. Our third executive session will be held pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Clause 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. I do so declare with regards to Landers Farm Road. We're going to be talking about the value of real property. The parcel ID is listed on our agenda. Is there a motion to enter executive session?
So moved.
Ms. Iaquinto makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Canty seconds. Is there discussion? Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yeah.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
And myself, yes. We're recessed for executive session. We're entering executive session. We'll return at approximately 6 p.m. Good evening, folks. The board is recessed from executive session. We were able to accomplish 2/3 of our executive session items, so we thought we had wasted enough of the public's time waiting for us. So we're back for our open session. We'll return to executive session when we conclude our open meeting business. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of this meeting after first notifying the chair and subject to the reasonable requirements of the chair so as not to interfere with the conduct of the meeting. At the beginning of each meeting, the chair shall inform attendees of any such recordings. Right now, I'm aware that the local scene is recording this meeting. Is there anyone else producing a video or audio recording of this meeting? Hearing and seeing none, I'll move on. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency and signed into law on March 28, 2025, this meeting will be conducted via remote means and in person. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so by tuning in to Comcast Channel 9 or Verizon Channel 47. You may watch the meeting as it's aired live or on rerun. You may also watch it on the local scenes website or on the YouTube platform. Members of the public who wish to participate in the meeting may do so by appearing in person here at the Great Hall at Town Hall, 26 Court Street, Plymouth, Mass., or remotely using the Zoom link, which is posted on our agenda. Please join the board in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We have public hearings for aquaculture licenses. The board has a memorandum from our harbor master as part of the packet. So I'll turn things over to the harbor master.
Good evening, Chad Hunter, Harbor Master. So there's 4 licenses before you. I don't know if you want to do them individually or as a...
Yeah, let's go through them individually.
So the first one is Cassie Goslin. Cassie and Bob have been conducting aquaculture in Plymouth Harbor for 13 years. They're in full compliance with the aquaculture regulations and the reporting requirements. We recommend approval, and Cassie is here if you have any questions.
Do you have anything you'd like to say? No. All right, it's cold out there, is what she says. Are there any questions from the board?
Okay.
Move on.
The next that you have before you is Connor Doyle. This actually shows as a new site, but Connor Doyle has been conducting aquaculture for a number of years. He's really just moving from a smaller location to a larger location to meet the demand. So I would recommend, instead of it being a new license agreement, as the packet proposes, to amend his existing license agreement that he already has with the town and just change the coordinates from the old site to the new site. This is the first time we've actually moved somebody, so there was, Connor actually stopped by the office yesterday to kind of talk about it, and I think we both agree that it's easier to just amend his existing license. The term on that, coincidentally enough, is about 3 years, so it's really just amending his existing license. And Connor Doyle is here if you have any questions for him.
Do you have anything you'd like to share, Connor? He's all set. Any questions from the board?
Okay. And just a note on that one, the old site that Connor is turning back to the town will go to the waiting list to be assigned. So,
Great.
the next 2, I think it was Doug Bartlett. These next 2 are for upwellers within the nursery area. So this allows our aquaculture they basically buy small seed, they put them in the upweller, and they raise them to about 25 millimeters. And then from there, they relay them out to their grow-out site until they produce a full-size oyster. We recommend both of these, both Bill Marani and Doug Bartlett. Bill Marani is here. If you have any questions for him, I did not see Doug Bartlett.
Sorry, did you say he's here?
Bill.
Yes, right there.
Did you want to say anything, Bill? No. All right. right, very good. Questions from the board? Number 4?
Doug Bartlett, same, sorry, I think we got those out of order. So both of those are for nursery site upwellers, 1 year.
And did you say Doug's not here?
Doug Bartlett is not here.
Questions from the board?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Quintal makes the motion, Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Discussion? Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We have a number of licenses in front of us today. 1, 2, 3, 4 outdoor amplified music, and 2 one-day wine and malt licenses. Pleasure of the board.
Move them as presented.
Is there a second? Oh,
I was just curious about the Second Wind Brewing Company, 7 Howland Street, the amplified music for the beer garden for their celebration of their anniversary. I just had a quick question on that. I know that's in a street that's confined and there's abutters and neighbors, and have we reached out to them? Are they prepared for this? Is kind of an expansion of usually what you do. Where would this take place in the upfront?
could you just state your name for the record, please?
It's going to be regarded to the parking lot in front.
Put your microphone on.
There we go.
State your name.
There we go. Kenny Semkin, owner of Second Wind Brewing Company. The event would be in the lot in front of the brewery. Those events on those days, they usually wind down at dark, so the plan would be for music during the day. So we were only looking for someone to be there from like 2 to 5 or 3 to 6.
Thank you.
Further questions? Mr. Quintal, do you want to move them as a group?
Yes, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Myself, yes. We have 4 administrative notes. Pleasure of the board.
Move them as listed.
Mr. Quintal moves them as a group. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Discussion? Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
And myself, yes. They are unanimous. Next on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Cirque?
Rich Cirque, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 2. In an article in the Plymouth Independent, it was disclosed that thousands of dollars of food and equipment have been stolen over the course of 11 years. I made the comments that I'm going to make tonight, last night, before the Plymouth School Committee. I was astounded, as most people were, by the brazen nature of the theft. Collected condiments, hot dogs, snacks, coffee, and other items paid for by the schools or provided by the federal school lunch program went out the door. Once or twice a week, Mr. Van Cott ordered school food service employees to slice deli turkey and deli ham and place them boxed into a school department refrigerator with the initials PVC on the boxes. He ordered cases of burger patties at a cost of $3,199.20 and charged them to the schools. They were later sold at his side business known as the Snack Shack on Cape Cod. He also stole 2 $2,200 refrigerators, a $3,950 freezer, hot plates, a griddle, a fryolator, a sandwich prep table, a convection oven, as well as 2 under-counter commercial refrigerators. School department video footage showed him loading one of the under-counter commercial refrigerators onto the back of his pickup truck. An additional video footage from the same day at the Sagamore Bridge showed him crossing the bridge with the refrigerator on the bed of his truck. Now, according to the article and according to a copy of the plea agreement that I've read, his plea agreement is to be presented to a judge on May 14, which is coming up very soon. And it calls for a prison sentence of between only 4 and 10 months. And it calls for restitution in an undetermined amount. I have some questions, and I suspect I'm not alone. Why were there no audit procedures in place to discover such losses over such a long period of time? It was 11 years. If the board feels, as I do, that a prison sentence of between 4 and 10 months is inadequate, then the board should immediately write to United States Attorney Leah Foley at the Moakley Courthouse in Boston to let her know before the May 14 hearing.
Mr.
the
Cirque,
board
your 3
feels-
minutes has concluded. I can give you an additional minute to wrap up.
If the board feels, as I do, that restitution in an undetermined amount is not satisfactory, it should provide a detailed cost estimate of the value of the equipment and food that was stolen, again, to the U.S. Attorney before the May 14 hearing. I did a title rundown on Van Cott's home in Sandwich, which was assessed for nearly $700,000 for fiscal year 2026. The only encumbrance I found was a $50,000 home equity loan mortgage executed last summer, which was 2 months after the investigation by authorities began. That means he has nearly $650,000 of equity in the property. If the board feels, as I do, that the town is entitled to security to be sure that Van Cott can in fact pay his restitution, it should ask the U.S. Attorney to place an attachment on his own, or the Select Board should direct Town Council to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Cirque.
I wonder, before I sat down, if I could ask Mr. Canty, who professionally knows more about criminal prosecution or criminal defense than I do, whether a letter from this board would be helpful to the U.S. Attorney.
I think we can have you connect with Mr. Canty offline.
Pardon me?
We have other folks who are waiting for comments, so I would ask you to connect with Mr. Canty offline. Mr. Lyden?
Steve Lyden, Precinct 17. I was aware that on the agenda tonight was Bill Coyle was coming in, the DPW director, to talk about the different types of paving that we're going to hopefully have on this road. I've seen the paving done on Justine Road and small development in there, Lunds Way, and I've talked to my neighbors, and I would definitely like to have that, the chip sealing coming to our neighborhood. I know there's been a few problems, but that's only been with a few people. With 60,000 people and 100 and some roads, and the cost of doing a full replacement of $1 million a mile, chip seal is the only way to go, or we're going to be at that financial cliff pretty soon, or have some pretty big potholes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lyden. Is there anyone else who'd like to give a public comment? Is there anyone online, Jade? All right. We'll move on to our agenda items. The first is the preliminary 2026 roadway program. We're joined by the DPW director, Mr. Bill Coyle.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Bill Coyle, DPW Director. Also with me this evening is Rick Bossy, Town Engineer, and James Downey, Assistant DPW Director. Rick is here to do a brief presentation on the chip seal projects that we have scheduled for this year. We have about 50 streets identified, and upon completion of Rick's presentation, we'll both be here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board, Rick Bossy, Town Engineer. I'm here tonight to give you an update on DPW's Pavement Management Road Program. Okay, past progress. The overall average RSR, which is a roadway surface rating, represents a benchmark for performance measuring of the town's pavement management program moving forward. At the beginning of 2024, the town's average RSR rating was 67.9. Over the course of 2024 construction season, DPW coordinated and oversaw 7.5 miles of paving and 17.3 miles of chip seal. This completed work raised the town's average RSR rating to 69.9. During the 2025 construction season, DPW coordinated and oversaw 12.7 miles of paving and 26 miles of chip seal. This completed work raised the town's average RSR to 72.6. Over the past 2 years, the completed work resulted in a 4.7 increase in the town's average RSR. Going forward for the 2026 construction season, DPW is proposing to perform approximately 15 miles of chip seal and 11 miles of paving. Utilizing our average construction cost per mile, the proposed 15 miles of chip seal will cost approximately $2 million. For comparison, utilizing the same budget of $2 million, we would be able to complete about 5 miles of mill and overlay and about 1.8 miles of reclamation. The proposed 11 miles of paving will consist of 8 miles of mill and overlay and approximately $3.2 million and 3 miles of reclamation costing approximately $3.3 million. DPW is trying to balance these costs so we can address a range of roadways in various conditions with preservation, paving, and reconstruction. Chip seal. So on April 16th and April 17th, Engineering Division sent out notification letters to approximately 865 properties located on the listed roads above. The letter notified residents that their roadway was a candidate for this year's rubber chip seal roadway preservation program. The letter contained dialogue about the process along with the informational flyer with photos. We asked if residents had any questions or concerns to please reach out to our office. To date, we have had 6 residents reach out. 4 residents called with various questions about the process and were supportive to have work done on their roads. These residents lived on Huntington Road, Plantation Road, Timber Lane, and Hyannis Road. The 2 other residents who reached out did not want the chip seal preservation process on the roads. These residents lived on Pierce Avenue and High Pine Drive. This concludes my presentation. We're here for any questions you may have.
Questions from the board? Mr. Canty?
I'm familiar with several of these roads, but not all of these roads. What criteria was used to put these roads on the chip seal list this year?
The RSR rating and pretty much the conditions of the roadway surface itself. So if we thought it could be preserved and, prolong, a mill and overlay or a full-blown reconstruction, it became a good candidate.
And are these, the ones that I'm familiar with at least, are residential neighborhoods?
Yeah, so we've hit a lot of the main drags already. We're running out of kind of the heavier trafficked areas and are looking to focus on what's remaining, which is more residential than, say, heavier traffic roadways.
And I guess like something like Lauren Road, which is kind of like it's deep into a neighborhood. So you have to go down, I think you go down Dwight Drive to get there, and then you go over Christopher Road, and then in the back there's
Over by the hospital.
Yes.
Mhm.
So like that road's like, I would consider that, as I described it, as like an off-street of an off-street. I grew up on an off-street of an off-street. I grew up on Columbia Circle, which you had to go on Esther Road and then La Scala or Anawan or Kristen to get to there. So pretty much the only people that were going to Columbia Circle where I grew up were us, our guests, and services being delivered to our houses. So those would be relatively lower traffic, which I think when we were here last year talking about this, that was sort of the more problematic for maintaining, for firming down the chip seal, I guess. Do you have anything you can clarify as to that?
Well, we reached out to the chip seal contractor to see if there was other options.
Yeah.
There were other options with using a smaller aggregate, but it resulted in a slipperier surface, and you couldn't use the rubber, which the rubber really helps with sealing the roadway surface in the preservation process. You kind of have to revert back to what they used in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
We also were going to hold in 6 inches on these residential roads to try to eliminate that kind of
Okay.
overspray of the rubber chip seal.
Okay.
And we're about 10 miles less of chip seal this year,
Than
so we
last.
can try to focus more on the sweeping.
Okay.
And, you know,
Okay.
between DPW staff and our contractor,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we're 10 more miles less than last year that we can
Yep.
try to cover and address any of the concerns in these residential areas.
So you think that tucking in from the edges and being able to focus more on the sweeping will alleviate many of the concerns we experienced the last time?
You know, and if we have another winter like we just did with snow plows and everything else, will help smooth things out as well.
Okay. And when you said you could use a smaller aggregate, meaning like the loose rocks that are in there?
So there was, I think we use about 3/8 inch stone.
Okay.
I asked the chip seal crew about using a 1/4 inch, which would provide a smaller surface, but it wouldn't work with the rubber that they're putting in there now. It would leave too smooth of a surface,
Okay.
and he believes there'd be issues, and you'd have to go back to using the emulsion process versus the rubber, which we've found to be wear a lot better and seal the roads.
Okay. And I know the answer, but just for clarification, like if we were to not use chip seal, the amount of money we would be putting towards, it would not, go nearly as far literally or figuratively,
Oh,
correct?
absolutely. I think the numbers I had were, so instead of doing 15 miles, if we did mill and overlay using our average cost, it would knock it down to 5 miles of road. And if we had to do full-blown reclamation, you'd be a little bit under 2 miles.
Yeah.
So it's about, I'd say 1/3 of the cost of a mill and overlay, mileage wise.
And is following up from that, like doing it in this tiered approach with the various mill and overlay, some reclamation, some chip seal, some, that is what's letting us make such significant progress on our overall RSR rating. And if we were to only do the higher price points, we wouldn't be making that.
Oh, yeah, the total mileage or the total aggregate that you treat or repair and preserve would be significantly less, so your averages would come down.
Yep.
And then, you factor in depreciation of the roads as,
Right.
A yearly ongoing thing. that,
Yeah.
You'd either be at a 0 net gain.
Or a negative.
start to
Which
lose.
is, like a few years ago, we were treading water. Before that, we were losing ground. Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Iaquinto?
So I had a question about how the roads held up over the winter. So I was wondering if there was any noticeable difference in the chip seal roads. Were they
For the
the
most
worst
part,
for wear, or?
For the most part, the roads that I've driven have held up pretty well. There have been some where the cracks have popped through, some on Long Pond Road, but a lot of it's due because of the frost. We had such a horrible winter. Once the water, if anything, gets in there, it lifts the pavement. But for the most part, I haven't heard of any major significant complaints or any other issues that have been brought to my attention.
Okay. And then my other question was about RSR, again, just for clarification for those who might be watching. What exactly does that mean, and why is it important to have?
So
A higher
that's
rating.
the road surface rating. So our consultant Beta goes through and they periodically drive the whole town and assign values based on the roadway condition. So every year we give them, okay, we completed this amount of work this year, and they update all our I guess, all the roads, individually and then combine them into an aggregate. So this average RSR includes public plus unaccepted private roadways as well as combine them all together. So it's a good tool for evaluating the whole town and, showing progress that we're gaining on the roadway conditions that we have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Cohen?
I'm just thinking, when you go to these roads, do you have a schedule of how that's going to work out during the course of the year? This is all going to happen over the next year?
So
You start with,
typically, the chip seal process, they're gonna have a certain crew come in that's gonna do the shim, and that's where they'll overlay any road areas that are either broken up pavement or they're depressed
Right.
in preparation for the chip seal.
Right.
Chip seal usually happens later on in the summer, so I'm guessing anywhere, middle to end of May, that we're still waiting on some cost estimates for some of these roads, just for the asphalt cost. But maybe, towards the end of May, get in there and do the shim work, then they pull out of town for a month or two, and then they come back and they'll crank out the mileage of putting down the aggregate and the rubber chip.
so it will be in May that these roads see this activity, the beginning.
It could possibly, I haven't got a definitive schedule from them.
So
but-
that's great. The thought I had is there any way of reaching out to the people on these streets just to let them know that this event is going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
That phase one is we come in and do this, and then there'll be a couple of months, and then we'll
So-
do this.
We sent out over 865 letters to the residents already,
Okay,
notifying them that they're candidates.
Excellent.
Contact us if you have any concern.
okay.
Out of that 865, we got 6 people that responded back.
All right.
4 that had some questions and were supportive of it, 2 that were not. So, but in that letter, I said, we're gonna either be putting message boards, so if you live in a big subdivision where you enter in one road and then it spiders off, we'll
Yeah.
probably have message boards there placed
Yeah.
versus sending individual mailers. Individual roads where we can easily hand out letters, we'll be notifying people ahead of time the best we can.
Is there, I think last year I saw that there was a video that shows how this is done. There was at one point I saw a video of,
There could be, I tried to make I think one of the comments at our last
Yeah.
meeting was to try to have some type of QR code or a video to it.
yeah.
But every town had a little bit of a different process.
Okay.
So I ended up putting a flyer together with some photos that I believe James took.
Okay.
And
Okay,
tried
good.
to,
All right,
give
thank
an
you. I did,
informative
yeah, just,
package there.
just want to make sure that we do everything we can to reach out to the residents on the street to let them know what will happen in the neighborhood and in the time frame in which it will happen, and if they have any questions, who to call.
Yep. So we gave
so-
them email addresses, phone numbers, and
Excellent.
everything in the
Good
letter.
job.
So
Thank you.
absolutely, welcome.
You folks wanting a vote from us tonight?
I think it did say that a vote anticipated, but it's up to the board. We will move forward if there's no objections from the board with the chip sealing. If you want to take a vote, that would be great. In either case, if you decide that you don't want to, then we'd want you to vote on it, definitely. But I want to make a couple of points too, that I thought were pretty interesting, looking at some of the numbers, in particular with the chip sealing. In the past 2 years, if you look at the numbers, how many miles we've done, it was 63.5 miles of roads in 2 years. And when you include what we're proposing for this year between chip seal and paving, in those 3 years will be 89.5 miles. And then in 2023, so 3 years, and then add this year, we will be at 100 miles of roads between chip sealing and paving of our roads. So, we have 235 public paved roads and about 74 public-private roads. So it's a large percentage, even between public and private roads. So pretty significant. And to Rick's point, we've chip sealed a lot of the main collector roads that were in need of chip sealing. And I personally, once Rick developed this list, I drove every single one of these roads. And then between Rick and I, we tweaked the list a little bit. Because you gotta remember, chip sealing is pavement preservation. So there may be some roads that we felt might be a little too far gone. So we pull it off the list and then look at that as maybe that should be a mill and overlay or a reclamation. So I think this is a very good list of what we want to preserve. So it's in going forward, again, it may be that we may find less chip seal candidates. And that's just gonna be a trade-off. We may find that there's gonna be more roads, but that might need mill and overlay and reclamation, so it is a balance, but this is more of a pavement preservation. But if you want to vote this evening, that's great. I think the biggest concern we'd have is if you were to vote not to chip seal. But if you want us to move forward, that's what we will do. Thank you.
Is there a motion from the board to instruct the DPW to move forward with their chip seal list as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Iaquinto makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Mr. Canty seconds. Discussion? Mr. Quintel?
Yeah, I'm not gonna support this tonight myself. After last year, and there's nothing to do with anything staff's proposing, but just the amount of phone calls that I had last year and unhappy residents. I didn't hear from anybody on Rocky Hill Road, so I don't know if it's different companies doing it or if it's a more travel roads, but the people that I spoke with actually thought that a heavier travel road, if you would, they wouldn't have the issues. And I did hear you say that you're gonna pull it in on the side of the edge of the road, and that may help, but you already know, Bill, from the emails that people are already asking,
Sure.
For their streets to be swept this year already.
And Mr. Quintel.
And you did, and I want to commend you for that. The staff has worked excellent with that. That's not why I'm just skeptical.
Yeah, no, and we understand that the first couple of years, there are quite a few stones. We're hoping by pulling it back 6 inches, it'll definitely decrease the amount of loose stones. We'll also have leaf blowers out there blowing them out of the driveways. There will still be loose stones. We find that one of our sweepers, the Pelican, works better. It looks like a three-wheeler than the broom beer that we have. So now we utilize that one. I can tell you, we had some concerns. I think it was North Triangle, and I drove that a couple weeks ago. I thought it looked really good. So with all this continued sweeping, I think Arboretum had called. I haven't been up there. I did drive it before we swept it.
Yeah, they did.
I drove it before we swept it, and I can tell you, yes, there were a lot of loose stones, which is expected. So I'm hoping now that we've swept it, it's much better. So, it does take time, and I understand that. So that's why.
They said they were appreciative, but there's still stones.
There
I'm
is,
just
I'm
I'm
sure.
just sharing. Yeah, they did.
And we'll continue sweeping it. So I agree. Thank you.
Mr. Canty?
So I think after this past winter, our roads are in a pretty, a more dire shape than they often are after a winter. Not that it's anything that the DPW did, just snow and ice, particularly in the quantity we received, causes deterioration to roads. I have noticed it in the areas that I drive throughout the town regularly, as well as those I've gone to for other reasons sporadically. And I think that a program to improve our roads is more necessary this year than in most years. We haven't had a winter like this in a bit, as we all know, but you can definitely see it in the roads. I know your employees are doing everything they can to address that, but I think this year more than ever, we do need a program like this. And also, I think the steps you've taken to reduce the total mileage in chip sealing and those other remediation efforts, increased sweeping, reducing the setback to that 6 inches from the edges will reduce some of the pain points that we were experiencing. So I'm satisfied that what you're doing is responsible, and I look forward to seeing the results.
Thank you.
Other discussion? All right, Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
No.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Thank you very much.
We'll move on to the trash removal model discussion. James Downey, Assistant DPW Director.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. For the record, James Downey, Assistant DPW Director, and I will be sharing a brief history of solid waste and recycling services within the town of Plymouth. We will look back as to what was previously offered, how it is currently set up, and outline some potential options for moving forward. My goal is to present these options for discussion. If the board finds any of them worth pursuing, our team can move forward with a more technical analysis. We would then schedule a follow-up discussion with the board to present those specifics. So I'm here for trash talk in Plymouth. The brief history. So prior to 2012, Plymouth operated 3 transfer stations: Beaver Dam Road, South Street, and Cedarville, which served just under half the Plymouth households. Around 2012, the town developed options for a municipal curbside collection program. After extensive consideration and outreach, the town decided to keep one transfer station open and provide the option for municipal curbside collection, which was implemented January 2014. The town contracted with ABC Disposal for curbside collection at a cost of $170 per year for that first year, when the tipping fees were around $23 a ton, with approximately 5,300 households enrolled for that first year. In 2018, the town stopped the municipal curbside collection because of changes in the recycling market. What they called the China Sword caused pricing to dramatically change for recyclable materials, which had an impact on the contract, and the town wasn't able to continue with the contract. So at that time, most of those residents had switched to private haulers, and about 15% continued to subscribe to the transfer station. Today, there are approximately 11 trash companies that are permitted to operate in Plymouth, with around 42 trash trucks and about 15,136 customers. And the transfer station remains open and has about 5,000 customers. So some potential options for moving forward. One, we could take no action and keep the current model, where the town continues to offer the transfer station with the one location for both trash and recycling, and residents continue to have the option to hire their own private hauler. Two, the town can consider a new municipal curbside collection contract with single stream recycling. This would require a considerable amount of work, understanding the current market conditions, the logistical challenges of Plymouth, including some public outreach and buy-in from the public, and then deciding if the program would be an opt-in or opt-out structure, since we would need to guarantee a minimum number of customers with high participation to realize any economic of scales. Three, the option would be consider ways to improve the transfer station and promote increased use. Or four, consider a residential benefit low bidder bid to allow residents some economy of scales, allowing them to opt in and sign up directly and not through the town. This approach would still need to be verified through procurement for feasibility and would still require a guaranteed number of participants to impact the pricing. Just some points to reiterate. Plymouth is a large town, covers more than 100 square miles with over 65,000 residents. All roads are not built equal. Some parts of town have roads that are very narrow, private, and gravel, and large trash trucks may find it difficult to provide pickup, and in some cases impossible. Although the hauler could be made responsible for handling complaints such as missed pickups, etc., added municipal time and additional staff would need to be considered and built into the annual permit fee. Another thing to consider, some towns require residents to opt out of the municipal program by providing proof of alternative service and in order to maintain the integrity of the program. But this might be difficult in Plymouth since most residents already have service in place, and some are very committed to their hauler, like the personal service, and some likely have found creative ways to reduce costs, such as bringing their trash to work or doubling up with neighbors. But this is just an assumption, but it is a concern. So I guess I just wanted to present that and then open it up for discussion to see if there was any desire for us to consider any of these potential options for going forward.
Ms. Aquaculture, I know this is your agenda item. Is there anything you'd like to add to the
Yeah,
discussion?
first of all, James, thank you very much. I love the title of this, The Trash Talk of Plymouth. It's just so fitting in so many ways. But this, and the options were really interesting. I know that this first came up several months ago when there was an article in the Plymouth Independent that kind of really shed some light on just the sheer volume of haulers that were in town, the environmental impacts that was having, the inefficiencies. You mentioned economies of scale. And that was the reason that we undertook this, was to see if we could address some of those concerns. So I see that you've got a number of different options here. And the one that one of them that you recommended was a new municipal curbside collection. But we stopped the old curbside collection for a reason. Has that issue gone away? Like, would this be any more successful than what we had in 2018?
So that is a good question, and I think it would require a little bit more of a deeper dive. So we haven't really been able to dive too deep into how that was structured back then, exactly what went wrong, and then how we could avoid that going forward. But I think one of the things that had changed, I think when that contract went out, recycling in itself was a lot different then, where there was a lot of value in the recyclable materials. So I think when it went out to bid, contractors at the time saw that as a asset. So they didn't have to bid as high because they figured they'd have some resale value of the recyclables when everything was going, as far as I heard, to China. China was buying it as is, and they paid good money. But then as time went on, that changed. And the value of that commodity was no longer there, and it became more of a liability. So you had to pay to dispose of it. Now, recycling in itself is required. So the state, they require us to recycle. It is nice if sometimes it does cost less to recycle than to dispose of the trash, but there are still some costs to move the product from collection to facilities that can then sort it, package it, and then resell it. So I don't know if we will see as much fluctuation in the commodity price of the recycling materials, but it does fluctuate. So there is always the possibility that things could change again, one way or the other, hopefully just modestly, and then you kind of incrementally account for that cost. But if there was a dramatic change, then you run the risk of something similar to what happened back in 2018.
Okay. And are any of these cost neutral to the town? Since our recent conversations about the budget, we clearly don't want to be taking on anything that's going to, add more cost to the services that we
Sure.
provide. So I'm just wondering if there's a way, which of these options would allow us to offer a benefit to the
Sure.
community
Yeah, good
without
question.
impacting the
So I would say, in my opinion, option 3 would probably do the best of that, of accomplishing that. So if we were to focus on our current transfer station and looking for ways to improve, expand service there, as well as just make things easier for the residents, it currently is a very cost-effective approach for people to dispose of their trash and recycling. So there is the added work of having to bring it there versus, curbside. But when it comes to saving money, I think what we do there is probably accomplishes that very well. And I do believe there could be some room for improvement as well.
Do you have anything on any of these options? Would you recommend, do you have one that would be preferable?
I think at this time, I would probably most likely recommend number 3.
Number 3.
Which would be to focus on our current transfer station, looking at ways of communicating better with our residents, and trying to, accommodate their needs on site, and make things easier and more cost-effective.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. That's
Thank
all I
you.
have for now.
Mr. Canty?
James, one of the complaints we've received about haulers, private haulers, is that, in certain areas of town, there's a garbage truck in a neighborhood like every day of the week, because they all have different pickup days. Is there anything we could do to regulate that so that, because I think one of the complaints is that it's consistently holding up between that and Amazon, FedEx, UPS, other services, particularly like in the narrower roads, it creates consistent, although albeit relatively small, but persistent hazards and delays to traffic. Could we do anything about that, or is that beyond our ability to regulate?
I mean, that is something that we could look into. I'm not sure exactly what we would be able to do in that regard. I know through the Board of Health, they do have regulations that the haulers have to adhere to.
Yeah.
But I would think it would probably get very tricky, trying to dictate the days that they can. So I guess even if we picked a street and said this day was Monday, which I don't know if they could do that, but if they did, then each of the haulers would have to visit that same street on that same day, which could cause issues as well.
Yeah, it could be unforeseen consequences of concentrating it as well.
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, but it is something that we could look into to see if there is any involvement or in dealing with the haulers, if there is a way of coordinating their efforts. I guess another thing that we wouldn't necessarily do,
The
but
concern of some.
right, because, and I don't know if it would be an apples to apples comparison, but when you think of the traffic issues around schools for
Yes.
drop off and pickup, everybody comes at the same time, and then you have that
Yeah.
intense congestion, and then maybe you're good for most of the day. So
Right.
I'm not sure when you look at the amount of trash trucks, yeah, it would take a little bit more looking into to know if there's anything that can be done in that regard.
And there's 42 total trash trucks amongst the 11.
So that is a number that I heard. I didn't have a chance to verify it, but I know through the Board of Health, those companies that are licensed, they are supposed to provide certain information to the Board of Health. So I know they usually do tell them how many customers and how many trucks they have.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Cohen?
Thank you, James. I haven't had a chance to attend a number of meetings by the Recycle Committee. And I know they're talking, and you attend those meetings. All the meetings I've gone to, you've been there with them, and they're looking at ways of improving this transfer station number 3. This past year, you implemented the program on the swap shop. So it really is where people drop things off and people can pick things up. That's now back in operation on Saturdays in Cedarville.
Yes, starting in May, they'll
Yeah.
be back open.
Yeah. So it's, obviously, any way we can think of reducing the burden on the town, and that's what I hear of this committee's work. Have you been engaging them on this presentation coming before the board, what to expect and what we're thinking? And have they inputted anything in recent weeks regarding this consideration?
On this specific issue, no.
Okay.
So they do meet monthly.
Yep.
In fact, there is a meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Would be their monthly meeting. And they do cover a lot of bases.
Yep.
And they do have very good ideas, and the volunteers and the committee members are very dedicated to the cause. One of the things they did help with recently at the last town meeting, we worked with the committee and the volunteers to implement the the recycling bins and food compost bins there.
Right.
They, as you mentioned, they were instrumental with the swap shop, which will be opening back up.
Right.
And they do look to help with other recycling efforts.
Right.
Yep.
Because I do see that that is one of the things that we should try to do in terms of this third option, considering ways of improving the transfer station. Obviously, anything that we can do to educate the residents how effectively to use the transfer station really does educate residents on the ultimate act of what you buy and what packaging you get. And there's a big problem out there because everything you touch, you bring home is now I got to go to the transfer station. So, there's a level of education. I like this idea of trying to improve the transfer station that we have. I love it. I go to it. I find that the transfer station a lot of fun. Get to recycle and I get to pick up, I'd like to pick up compost there. So there's a lot of things at the dump. So I think that that's the first step in the direction of kind of addressing these larger questions across the town in terms of how we generate trash, how we manage that trash, and what cost that incurs on the town. But the first step is really focusing on the transfer stations and making them more available to the residents and they understand how it's used.
Very good.
Ms. Iaquinto?
So I'm kind of picking up on this idea of improving the transfer station too. Like, it just seems like we could do a lot of, I can't believe I'm going to say this, creative things to improve the dump. Like, but so this composting is there already, but we could possibly expand that, possibly bring in some sort of version of the swap shop so that it becomes a destination almost to do a lot of things, including bring your trash.
Right.
Don't make me laugh. But yes, but that's what I'm kind of envisioning.
Yeah, no,
there.
I
It
would
could be a
agree.
fun
Yes,
family
I mean, I
event.
think people do have fun there already. And we will continue to look for ways of making it more efficient, to some extent more pleasant to visit, and provide ways of economically handling that cost, which when it comes to private haulers, some people choose that option, but it is a much more costly option. So I do believe focusing on the transfer station would be a good place for us to focus some efforts to make that part better for the public.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I would be very supportive of that if my colleagues agree that that's a good next step.
It's fine by me. Everett, are you a member of the recycling committee and would like to speak on the matter? Vice Chairman of the Recycling Committee, Everett Malaguti.
Thank you, Everett Malaguti, Vice Chair Recycling Committee. James did a lot of the history on this, and I did want to go into a little bit more of the history as well, too. I am one of the original members of the Solid Waste Working Group that was started when we discussed curbside coming into town. Mr. Brindisi was also part of that committee when he was the Assistant Town Manager back then. And we had a good year discussion with us, the former Assistant DPW Director Dennis Westgate, Lynn Barrett, Dale Weber, and Mr. Provenzano were all part of that committee. And we actually did a lot of legwork to actually control the cost, not just for the town, but also for the residents to pay for the subscription for the transfer station. And we made it so that it would be zero liability for the town, that it wouldn't be any more subsidies from the tax base going into the general operations for the transfer station as had been in the past prior to this agreement. That was a collaboration looking at formats from other municipalities, how they did their fee structures, not just for the annual subscription, but also for the tipping for other goods, white goods, other recyclables, their tires, oils, antifreeze, as well as looking at costs that the town was putting into the transfer station that was a burden for the users, but a sort of gift to everyone. Part of it was the fees for the tree disposal for Christmas trees. That was inside the operations for that, but it wasn't just geared to that. It was for everyone. So we took that out, put it into the general fund, which was more appropriate for that. That was a savings of around $8,000 to $9,000 per year. There was also other aspects that we had the fees at the time, since we had curbside and the transfer station, that we split the South Shore Recycling Cooperative annual subscription between both of them equally to reduce some of the costs at that time. That's back in there now since we don't have a curbside component. But these are some of the ideas that we talked about in the past, and I've always been looking at the monthly and yearly tonnage for both the recycling and the trash to see where we could find. And ironically, that actually was the origination of the working group, since when we were talking about that, I was looking at the amounts that we were getting for recyclables for the actual revenue back from that. And it was that at that time we were getting around $10 to $15 per ton back for cardboard, but our neighboring Kingston was getting $60 a ton back. So that was what sparked that. And we actually switched the contracts to the provider that Kingston was using for their operation. We were able to get that same rate as well too. So these are part of the ideas of looking at the improvements of it. If the town, and just a little aside from James, but if we wanted to look at a curbside component or offering curbside, I wouldn't recommend doing it on the town side, as we had that hassle back when we had that with what James stated, but also to the logistics of it. If we wanted to do a component, I would probably look at maybe a preferred provider, which would be like, this is what the town prefers, and that would probably look at the economies of scale for that, but it would have zero liability for the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malaguti. Any further questions or discussion? Mr. Cohen?
Option 3, very interesting, but I think that, when you look at options 1 and 2 and 4, there's a component there of always being on top of opportunities to address these issues. The technologies that are out there, the opportunities to revisit how we're doing it. Obviously, Mr. Malaguti pointed out that we revisited how cardboard was done, and we discovered that. But I think that it's an ongoing effort to just always be examining how we're handling this situation. Because I remember originally we were going to pay as you throw. We were prepared to go to 3 transfer stations and go as pay as you throw, in incentivizing people to recycle. And that was nearly 10 years ago, I would say. So, 10 years of missed opportunity of educating people how to handle their waste, because I was always very suspicious of an economic model that was presented to the town to take away our waste, that the recycle would end up in a slow boat to China. I just didn't see how that was going to be a viable economic model. It came back to haunt not only Plymouth, but every other town in the country. So it really has changed the face of recycling. Studies keep showing that we're not doing a good job recycling, less and less each year. So, the key to this is controlling the cost of this event by looking at separating our waste in a manner in which we create a local commodity that can be used locally. So, having to ship this recycled material on the other side of, the world, doesn't really make economic or environmental sense. So, we should be learning from those lessons that we got into, constantly looking at how we're doing it and what we can do locally to be more in tune to the recycling component, and looking at options to control the costs associated with this. So I think the first step is to focus on our transfer station and our outreach and our education. There's the opportunity where we can begin that.
Okay, I agree.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yeah, I think you've got some direction from us then to
Yeah.
go forth and back to us with some ideas for improving the transfer station. And as Mr. Malaguti said, there are a number, and you mentioned too, that the recycling committee, Sustainable Plymouth, I think that we have so many different groups who are all working towards the same thing. And if we could, make some improvement to trash hauling, which is where this all started, and then offer some benefits around that, I think that would be a win for the community.
Okay.
Thank you so
agree.
much for putting this together.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I know he just stood up from his chair, but I think we've concluded our agenda proper, and we'd like to move on to the town manager's report. Mr. Brindisi?
Okay, yeah, Jade, if you could. Well, Mr. Coyle's here, so I was gonna just bring up a slide. So I just wanted to give an update on the Water Street project. Hopefully we're nearing its end. The area on Water Street that is south of Memorial Drive has been complete. That was about 300 feet, 350 feet of sewer main that's been repaired. That's complete. And so there's about 75 feet north of Memorial Drive. You'll see some activity on that side of Water Street. We're hoping, there's a meeting tomorrow, there's gonna be a walkthrough tomorrow with our DPW Director, engineering staff, with the contractor to go through that final phase of the project. So assuming everything goes well, we're hoping that they'll get into the ground and get out within the next 3 weeks. And so then we'll put the street back together, all in time for Memorial Day. So that's always been our goal. Fingers crossed, things continue to go well on this project. And so we're just trying to wrap this up as soon as we can. So moving on to other DPW items, we've already notified a number of the abutters over on Town Wharf Way. So I've talked a lot about this project. Starting next Monday, the DPW contractor will go in and install sidewalks on, I would say, the left side of Town Wharf Way as you're going down the road. That is the area in front of the shanty, in front of the cabbie shack, and make its way upward. So that's about a 3-week project. We want to get out of that project as soon as we can because tourist season is coming. And then the Harbor Master is working on a project as well to start phase 1 of the pier improvements over there as well. That's going to create some disruption, so we don't want to have these 2 projects going on concurrently. I just want to move on and recognize Mr. David Gould. So he's going to be gone next week. He got invited to the International Fish Passage Conference where he is one of the guest presenters. So we all know the great work that David does, and last year he got invited, I think, down to DC to do guest presentations, and so this year he got invited to go to UC Davis to do another presentation on the work that they're doing at the Department of Energy and the Environment. For Health and Human Services, we have a couple of things going on. So May 1st, so this coming Friday, the ARISE grant applications are due. So as you know, this is the 3rd year running that the Health and Human Services Department issues these mini grants, approximately $50,000, where we invest back into the community to try to mitigate fatal and non-fatal overdoses as it relates to opioids. And then we are preparing to come before the board sometime in June with a final Community Health Improvement Plan presentation. Over the next 2 days, starting tomorrow, there'll be a 4-hour session. Then on Thursday, again, there'll be a 4-hour session. We've invited community stakeholders. We've invited residents and a number of the organizations that we work with here in the community to go through the data, which has already been presented. I mentioned that last week. But now we're at the process where we want to develop a strategic plan around health and advancing health over the next 5 years. So we'll come back to the board sometime in June to present those findings. I think I mentioned earlier this evening that Lady Justice, which is the statue over at the 1820 Courthouse, will be removed this coming Friday by the Parks Division. So this has been, the Lady Justice has been in disrepair, so we want to remove that, store it over the water barn for the time being until we can come up with a long-term solution. So those of you will notice something missing after this Friday over in front of the 1820 Courthouse. Last week, we talked a lot about the Conservation Commission and the fact that they down some staffing. So we plan to hire a part-time conservation agent in the next week or so. So want to staff up conservation so that we can take any appropriate actions that are necessary relative to enforcement. And then as a reminder, this is the last reminder, this coming Saturday is the hometown cleanup. So there's a couple ways folks can sign up for the hometown cleanup. You can go to Sustainable Plymouth website, www.sustainableplymouth.org. You can sign up there. If you don't have access to a computer, you can go to our planning department, see Patrick Farah, where he will give you some purple bags, and you can be part of the entire effort all day on Saturday at this week's hometown cleanup. Moving on to the clerk's office, I just want to mention that we now have 1,900 applications for mail-in ballots. The town clerk's office has processed almost all of those. Many of those ballots went out yesterday. The remaining will go out today and tomorrow so that folks could send in their mail-in ballots. Any folks that want a mail-in ballot, they have until May 11th to apply to the town clerk's office to request those mail-in ballots. If you don't want to do mail-in ballots, you can always do early voting, which will begin on May 7th. And then I think that's all I have for this evening. So yeah, May 7th, we'll start early voting, and that will take place during the town hall operating hours. Pending any questions, I think that's all I have for this evening.
Are there questions for the town manager? Mr. Cohen?
Thank you for the update, and thank you for the information on Lady Justice. So looking forward to seeing her condition when she comes down. There was some work done to her back in 2017 when we replaced her, but she only dates historically from 1998. She was cut from green wood. She suffered from powder post beetles at the time that we were trying to manage. So obviously that's caught up to her, and so we, look forward to working with staff on opportunities of how we might restore her or look at alternatives to replicating something that's more historically accurate. From the original Lady Justice that was there up until 1998. So thank you for that update. Just when you're taking her down, just be careful not to, the scale is actually original to the previous Lady Justice. So that's the one historical component of this. So when you take down Lady Justice, be very careful with the scale that she's holding. And be careful with the sword. Thank you.
Anything else for the town manager? Select board discussion, new business? Ms. Iaquinto?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on Mr. Cirque's question that he asked about the being proactive in sending a letter to support some additional restitution from the thefts from the school department. Is that something that we would normally get involved in? Is it anything that we would even entertain doing?
Mr. Brindisi?
I mean, this is as you all know, this is under the supervision of the school committee and the school superintendent. Certainly, if they needed assistance, we always are there to help them, but they would have to take the lead on that.
Okay, so it's in their jurisdiction.
That's right.
We really don't have any standing there. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cohen?
In my microphone, I want to thank the staff that was able to provide the PowerPoints tonight in the briefings. That was very helpful. Anytime you can get it into the packet, that is great. I hope you're working with staff and staff is working with presenters to make sure that when we get our packets, it includes the information that we're going to be looking at in the during the course of the evening. So anything that we can do to make sure that happens. It happened tonight, that's great, but it's very helpful when you look at your packet and you see that there's some supporting documents. And also, anytime that we can get it out as early as possible. I know logistically, there's a lot associated with the agenda and then making sure that the packets get out. So I hope that we accommodate people delivering supporting documents, but at the same time, making sure that we have the packet available to the board and the general public at the earliest possible time. So I just wanted to touch on that and thank staff for putting that together this week.
Other new business? Letters? Old business? Mr. Cohen?
Just wanted to thank the Department of Energy and Environment. David Gould's office was very instrumental with their staff, making sure that we had a successful Herring Fest at Brewster Gardens this year. It was held at Brewster Gardens due to the construction at Jenny Gristmill, Jenny Pond, Jenny Park. That's under a restoration effort, and they had to shut down their construction to allow the herring to pass. But if people have a chance to go down to Brewster Gardens, you can start to see the migration of the spring fish coming into Plymouth. But I wanted to just take the time and thank all the presenters and all the participants in the Herring Fest Festival. I wanted to thank the department and the town and the participants and the residents who took part in it. So very fun day for all.
Other old business? Well, before we conclude our final meeting in April, I did want to, and Derek already touched on this, note that we're looking forward to the upcoming election and the subsequent reorganization that will take place on this board afterwards. So I wanted to update the community and the board on what my intentions are moving forward. It's been a profound honor to serve as the chairman of this committee, of this board. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to serve the people of Plymouth in this way. And I know that the trust that's been placed in me to hold the gavel is immense. This role carries a weight and responsibility to our citizens. I've always strived to uphold that with respect and fairness. As many of you know, I'm currently a candidate for another office. And looking ahead, I want to ensure that this board has consistent and uninterrupted leadership throughout the entire year in order to eliminate the need for yet another mid-year transition following the November election. I have decided that I will not accept the nomination for chairmanship next month should the opportunity arise. My goal is to facilitate a seamless transition now, allowing the next chair to provide a steady hand that our town deserves. I look forward to continuing my service to the community as a member of this board. I thank my colleagues for placing their trust in me over the last several months, and I look forward to working with new leadership in the months ahead. Unless there's any additional old business, is there a motion to re-enter executive session, not to return to, and thus to adjourn our open session?
So moved.
Mr. Canty's made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Any discussion? Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
And myself, yes. We are adjourned from open session.